The bell above the diner door chimed at exactly 0600. Maria Torres looked up from wiping down the counter and froze. 6 men walked in, military haircuts, tactical boots. The way they moved, scanning exits, covering angles, sitting with backs to walls. Navy SEALs. She could spot them a mile away, even after 22 years. They ordered coffee, black, strong, the way warriors drink it. Maria poured with steady hands, but when she leaned over to refill the first cup, her collar shifted. Just slightly, just enough. The youngest SEAL's eyes locked onto her neck, onto the small tattoo barely visible above her collar line. His face went white. He grabbed his teammate's arm, pointed, and in a voice filled with absolute shock, he whispered 5 words that made the entire diner freeze. That's a Trident Reaper mark. Maria Torres had owned Rosie's Diner in the small town of Oakdale, Montana for 22 years. Population 3,200, 1 main street, 2 churches, 3 bars, and her diner. The heart of the town. She'd bought it in 2002 with money nobody asked about. Renovated it herself. Turned it into a classic 50s-style diner with red vinyl booths, chrome fixtures, and a jukebox that still played Patsy Cline. Every morning at 5 a.m. she'd unlock the doors, fire up the grill, brew the first pot of coffee. By 5:30, the regulars would start filing in. Sheriff Morrison, scrambled eggs and bacon, Doc Henderson, oatmeal and black coffee, the Thompson twins who ran the hardware store, pancakes and sausage. They'd been coming for 2 decades. Knew Maria's smile, her laugh, her kindness. But they didn't know her, not really. They didn't know that before Rosie's Diner, before Oakdale, before the quiet life-serving breakfast to ranchers and retirees. Maria Torres had been Lieutenant Maria Torres, United States Navy, Special Warfare Development Group, the unit most people called SEAL Team 6, the tip of the spear. The ones who went where others couldn't, the ones who did what others wouldn't, and Maria had been one of exactly 12 women ever selected for their most classified program, Combat Support Operations. The tattoo on her neck proved it, a trident wrapped around a reaper's scythe, only given to operators who'd completed missions that would never be declassified. Missions in countries America wasn't officially in, doing things that officially never happened. Maria had 3 of those missions, 3 kills that saved hundreds of lives, 3 operations that earned her a file locked in a vault somewhere in Virginia that would stay sealed for 50 years after her death. But that was another life, another Maria, the one who'd walked away after her husband was killed in Kandahar, after she'd held his flag at Arlington, after she'd decided that she'd given enough, that it was someone else's turn to fight. She'd moved to Montana, found the smallest town she could, bought a diner, and disappeared. Nobody in Oakdale knew, nobody suspected. To them, Maria was just the friendly waitress who made the best huevos rancheros in the state, who remembered everyone's order, who gave free pie to kids on their birthdays, who never talked about her past but always listened to theirs. She liked it that way. Quiet, simple, safe. Until 0600 on a Tuesday morning in October, when 6 Navy SEALs walked through her door. She recognized them instantly, the haircuts, the bearing, the way they moved like a unit even in civilian clothes. They sat in the back booth, the tactical position, backs to the wall, eyes on the entrance. Maria's heart started pounding, but she steadied herself, grabbed the coffee pot, walked over with her practiced smile. "Morning, gentlemen. Coffee?" The team leader nodded. "Yes, ma'am, black, all of us." Maria poured. Her hands didn't shake, didn't tremble. 22 years of practice, 22 years of being someone else. She turned to leave. That's when it happened. Her collar shifted, just slightly. The youngest SEAL, couldn't have been more than 26, glanced up. His eyes locked onto her neck, onto the small tattoo barely visible above her collar, a trident wrapped around a reaper's scythe. His cup clattered onto the saucer. His hand shot out, grabbed his team leader's wrist. "Sir," he whispered, but loud enough for Maria to hear. "Look at her neck." The team leader looked. His expression changed instantly, from casual to sharp, assessing, recognition. "Ma'am," he said quietly, his voice different now, respectful, almost reverent. "Where did you get that mark?" Maria's blood ran cold. She'd been so careful. 22 years, never slipped, never revealed. But one moment, one shifted collar, that's all it took. She could lie, pretend it was just a tattoo, something she got young and stupid, but these were seals. They'd know. "I got it a long time ago," she said carefully, "in another life." The team leader stood slowly. The rest of his team tensed. "Ready." "Ma'am," he said, "that mark is only given to members of a very specific unit, a unit that doesn't officially exist. There are 12 people alive with that exact tattoo. 3 of them are women." His eyes locked onto hers. "Are you one of them?" Maria set down the coffee pot, looked at these 6 young warriors, saw herself in them, 25 years ago, young, fierce, ready to die for something bigger than themselves. "Yes," she said quietly, "I am." The diner went silent. The handful of early morning customers stopped eating, stopped talking, just stared. The team leader's hand moved. Maria tensed, but he wasn't reaching for a weapon. He was reaching down, and then, in front of the entire diner, this Navy SEAL, this warrior who'd probably killed more enemies than Maria had served pancakes, dropped to one knee. The rest of his team followed. 6 SEALs, on one knee, in Rosie's diner, honoring a 65-year-old waitress. "Ma'am," the team leader said, his voice thick, "we're Team 5, deployed out of Virginia Beach. We're heading to California for training. Stopped here for breakfast. Never expected to meet a legend." Maria's throat tightened. "I'm not a legend. I'm a waitress." "You're Lieutenant Maria Torres," the SEAL said. "Call sign Reaper. 3 confirmed high-value target eliminations. Kandahar, Fallujah, and 1 we're not allowed to name. You saved an entire platoon in '06. You extracted a CIA asset under fire in '08. How do you know this?" Maria interrupted. "Because our instructor told us about you," the young SEAL who'd first spotted the tattoo said. He stood. His eyes were shining. "Commander Richards. He said you were the best operator he ever worked with, that you could shoot better than anyone, move quieter than a ghost, that you saved his life twice." Maria's breath caught. Jack Richards. She hadn't heard that name in 15 years. "How is he?" she asked quietly. "Retired," the team leader said, "but he talks about you. Says you're the reason he's still alive. Says a lot of us owe our lives to what you did." Maria looked away. "I just did my job." "You did more than that," the SEAL said. And then he did something that broke her. He saluted, sharp, perfect. The way you salute a superior officer. Maria's eyes filled. She hadn't been saluted in 22 years. "Stand down," she said softly. "I'm not your commander. You're still a warrior, ma'am," he replied. "And we honor our warriors." The sheriff stood up from the counter, walked over slowly. "Maria," he said, his voice confused. "What's going on?" "These gentlemen were just leaving," Maria said quickly. "No, ma'am," the team leader said gently. "With respect, we're not. Not until the town knows who you really are." Maria's stomach dropped. "Please don't." "Why not?" the SEAL asked. "You saved lives, served your country, did things most people can't imagine. You deserve recognition." "I deserve peace," Maria said, her voice cracking. "I came here to disappear, to forget, to stop being that person." The team leader's expression softened. "You can't stop being who you are, ma'am, any more than we can. Once a SEAL, always a SEAL." She shook her head. "I walked away, after my husband died, after I couldn't take any more death. I just wanted to be normal." "And you are," the SEAL said. "You're a business owner, a community member, a woman who serves breakfast and makes people smile. but you're also a hero. And heroes don't stop being heroes just because they take off the uniform. The sheriff stepped forward. Maria, is this true? Were you really... He couldn't even finish the sentence. Yes, Maria whispered. Navy, Special Operations. I served 14 years. Then I came here. And I never told anyone because I didn't want to be that person anymore. The diner was packed now. Word had spread. The whole town seemed to be crowding in. People Maria had served coffee to for 2 decades. People she'd laughed with, cried with. People she thought of as family. And now they knew. Now everything would change. But instead of fear or suspicion, she saw something else in their eyes. Awe, respect, pride. Doc Henderson stood, raised his coffee cup. To Maria, he said, who served her country, then came here and served us. The diner erupted in applause. Maria covered her face with her hands, overwhelmed. The team leader put a gentle hand on her shoulder. Ma'am, he said quietly, you don't have to hide anymore. What you did mattered, who you were mattered, and who you are now matters just as much. Over the next hour, the story came out. In pieces, fragments. Maria didn't give details. Couldn't. Most of it was still classified. But she told them enough. About joining the Navy at 19, about SEAL support training, about being selected for the special program, about the missions she could never talk about losing her husband, about walking away, about finding Oakdale and building a new life. The town listened, rapt. This was their Maria, the woman who made their coffee, who knew their kids' names, who'd been at every funeral, every wedding, every town event for 22 years, and she'd been hiding this the whole time. When she finished, the sheriff spoke. Why didn't you tell us? I didn't want to be treated differently, Maria said. I wanted to be normal. You are normal, Doc Henderson said. You're also extraordinary. Both can be true. The SEALs stayed for 3 hours, told stories about their training, their missions, their brotherhood, asked Maria questions. Listened to her answers like students at the feet of a master, and when they finally had to leave, the team leader handed Maria a card. If you ever want to come back, he said, even just to teach, to share what you know, we'd be honored. Maria took the card. I'll think about it. He nodded, then pulled something from his pocket. A challenge coin, gold, with the SEAL Trident, Team 5. He pressed it into her hand. For the legend, he said, so you remember you're one of us, always. They left. The diner slowly emptied. Maria stood behind the counter, holding the coin, tears streaming down her face. The sheriff walked over, sat down. You okay? I don't know, Maria admitted. I've been hiding for so long. I don't know how to not hide. Maybe you don't have to hide, the sheriff said. Maybe you can just be both. The waitress and the warrior, the neighbor and the hero. Maria wiped her eyes. You think? I know, he said, because that's what you've always been. You just didn't let us see all of it. The days that followed were strange, surreal. People treated Maria differently, not worse, just different, with more respect, more curiosity, more questions. Kids asked her about the Navy. Veterans thanked her for her service. People who'd known her for decades suddenly saw her with new eyes. It was uncomfortable, but also, in a way Maria didn't expect, it was freeing. She didn't have to hide anymore, didn't have to pretend the tattoo on her neck was nothing, didn't have to change the subject when someone asked about her past. She could just be, all of herself. 2 weeks after the SEAL's visit, Maria got a call. Commander Jack Richards, her old team leader, the man whose life she'd saved. Twice. Reaper, he said. And just hearing that call sign after so many years made her smile. Viper, she replied. His call sign. It's good to hear your voice. Yours too, he said. I heard what happened. Team 5 couldn't stop talking about meeting you. I didn't mean for them to find out, Maria said. I'm glad they did, Jack said, because I want to ask you something. What? We're building a new training program for the next generation of operators. We need experienced people, people who've been there, done it, survived it. I want you to come teach. Maria's breath caught. Jack, I haven't been in that world for over 20 years. Neither have I, he said. But we don't need to be current operators. We need to be teachers, mentors, guides. You know things these kids need to know, not just tactics, but how to handle the cost, how to come home, how to live after war. Maria thought about the 6 SEALs in her diner, the way they'd looked at her, like she mattered, like what she'd done mattered. Maybe, she said. Let me think about it. Take your time, Jack said. But Reaper? Yeah? Welcome back. Maria didn't answer right away. She thought about it for weeks, talked to the sheriff, to Doc Henderson, to the people of Oakdale who'd become her family. They all said the same thing. Go, teach, share what you know, but come back, because you're ours too. So 3 months later, Maria stood in front of a classroom at the Naval Special Warfare Center in Virginia. 20 young operators, men and women, all of them hungry, eager, ready to prove themselves. My name is Lieutenant Maria Torres, retired, she said. Call sign Reaper. I served 14 years in Naval Special Warfare, 3 classified operations, multiple combat deployments, and for the last 22 years, I've run a diner in Montana. The class looked confused. A diner? One of them asked. Yes, Maria said, because after the war I needed peace. I needed normal. I needed to remember that there's life outside of combat. And that's what I'm here to teach you. Not just how to fight, but how to come home, how to live. How to be human after you've done inhuman things. She paused. Some of you will complete missions that will never be acknowledged. You'll do things that will haunt you. You'll lose people you love. And when it's over, when you take off the uniform, you'll need to know how to be something other than a warrior. The room was silent. Because if you don't learn that, Maria continued, the war never ends. It follows you home. It destroys you. I've seen it happen to too many good people. So, yes, I'm going to teach you tactics, marksmanship, infiltration, all the technical skills. But I'm also going to teach you something more important. How to survive the peace. One student raised a hand. How do you do that, ma'am? How do you survive the peace? Maria smiled sadly. You find something worth living for beyond the mission. For me, it was a small town, a diner. People who needed me in a different way. For you, it might be something else, but you have to find it. Because the mission will end, and you need to know who you are when it does. Over the next year, Maria taught. She split her time between Montana and Virginia. 3 weeks at the diner, 1 week at the training center. The town of Oakdale supported her, held fundraisers to keep the diner running when she was gone, hired temporary staff, made it work. Because they were proud of her, proud that their Maria was shaping the next generation of warriors. And Maria discovered something. She loved teaching, loved passing on what she knew, loved seeing these young operators grow, not just as fighters, but as people. She taught them to shoot, to move, to think, but she also taught them to feel, to grieve, to process, to be okay with not being okay. She told them about her husband, about losing him, about the guilt, the pain, the years of hiding, and she taught them that it was okay to walk away. That service didn't mean dying in uniform, that you could serve, then stop, then serve again in a different way, and it was all valid, all honorable, all enough. One of her students, a young woman named Corporal Sarah Kim, approached her after class one day. "Ma'am," she said, "can I ask you something?" "Of course." "How did you know when it was time to leave, when the war?" Maria nodded. "I knew," she said, "when I started to lose myself, when I couldn't remember who I was outside of the missions, when the only time I felt alive was when I was in danger. That's when I knew I had to stop, before I became the war instead of the warrior." Sarah nodded slowly. "I'm scared of that." "Good," Maria said, Fear means you're paying attention. Just remember, you're more than this. You're more than the uniform, more than the missions. And when it's time, you'll know. And it'll be okay to stop. Sarah's eyes filled. Thank you, ma'am. Maria hugged her, something she never would have done 25 years ago. But she wasn't that Maria anymore. She was someone better, someone whole. On her 66th birthday, Maria stood in Rosie's diner surrounded by the people of Oakdale. Her family, they'd thrown her a surprise party. Cake, balloons, terrible singing. But also, in the back corner, 6 Navy SEALs in dress blues. Team 5. They'd driven 18 hours to be there. The team leader stepped forward, presented her with a framed photo, the SEAL Trident. Below it, an inscription, Lieutenant Maria Torres, call sign Reaper, warrior, teacher, legend. And below that, signatures, hundreds of them, every operator she'd trained over the past year, every life she'd touched. Ma'am, the team leader said, we wanted you to know. What you're doing matters. You're saving lives, not with bullets anymore, but with wisdom, with truth, with the courage to teach us that it's okay to be human. Maria couldn't speak, could only nod, hold the frame, feel the weight of it. That night, after everyone left, Maria sat alone in the diner, looked at the photo, thought about her life, the missions, the loss, the hiding, the rediscovery. She pulled out her phone, scrolled to a contact she hadn't used in years, typed a message. Hey Jack, I'm in, full time. Let's train the next generation, right? She hit send, stood, walked to the window, looked out at the quiet street of Oakdale. This town had saved her, given her peace, given her a home. But now it was time to give back in a different way. She wasn't leaving the diner, wasn't leaving Oakdale, but she was stepping back into who she'd always been. Not just the waitress, not just the warrior, both, all of herself, fully, finally. Maria Torres smiled, touched the tattoo on her neck, the mark that had hidden for 22 years, the mark that told a story only 12 people could tell. She was proud of it now, proud of what it meant, proud of who she'd been, and proud of who she was becoming, a teacher, a mentor, a bridge between the warriors and the world. The next morning, the bell above the diner door chimed. Maria looked up, smiled, poured coffee, served breakfast, lived her life, and twice a month she flew to Virginia, put on her instructor credentials, stood in front of young operators, and taught them not just how to fight, but how to live, how to come home, how to be whole. Because that's what warriors do. They serve, they sacrifice, they teach, and when the mission is done, they find new missions, new ways to matter, new ways to make a difference. Maria had found hers, and she'd never been happier. The end.